If you've been playing Geometry Dash for a while, you probably recognize at least some of the levels I'm showing you. But why? What do these levels have that make them stick in your memory while others fade away? Today, I want to break down the structure behind these iconic moments and answer whether or not all memorable levels follow the same formula. What goes into making something that is impossible to forget? The Neon Wave is one of the most iconic moments from a 1.9 level, but the cube part leading up to it is almost more memorable than the grand spectacle that follows. With just an 8-second break in the song, Zobrist bridges the gap between the early flow and the rave-like flash that Nine Circles would become known for, hyping the level up as if to say, "Get ready, what's coming next is gonna knock your socks off." Build-up is a key factor in making the big moment land, with Black Blizzard by Karma L spending over a minute escalating the intensity of its gameplay and visuals from calm and elegant to the raging storm of its iconic duel. One of the more interesting ways a level has set up its moment is thematically, with Menace by Arraegen being a great example. This is a level with a deeper meaning, and it opens on an incomplete commentary before completing the thought later. The Extreme Demon starts with this ethereal music playing while the background art of a person at the foot of a grand staircase symbolizes this big question of a higher power and morality. The following part shows part of an existential poem rejecting the aforementioned idea, but then, later on, the level loses color and starts giving off a sense of limbo through the peak of its visual complexity, capturing Arraegen's theme. Should I let go of morality, and if I do, what will I become? These three examples demonstrate key aspects of how creators generate hype for the important moments. Menace's beginning acts as a prelude to the black and white section's thematic payoff. Black Blizzard incrementally ramps up its intensity over 67 seconds, and Nine Circles follows the energy of its song to let the player marinate for a while, and then swiftly hype them up for the drop. Song representation, intentional escalation, and setup to a thematic payoff. Structuring this type of level is mostly about deciding how long you want to build tension, and which of these elements you want to use to do so. But what about the part being built up to? What makes that stand out? Well, the first thing these levels often feature is a convergence of peaks between aspects such as difficulty, gameplay intensity, and visual noise, and it also helps if the level's song has a climax to use for this part. A good example is Bloodlust, whose song, At the Speed of Light, is this epic roller coaster slowly building toward the extension. Redeemer by Surveyor23 sorta does this as well with the fiery part at the end with the figures, and it also serves as a thematic payoff to the world building earlier in the level. Remember, convergence of peaks. It's important to note that not every level has to follow this exact formula in order to be memorable. Looking at Edge of Destiny, for example, I wouldn't say that Kuluk's part is a super intense moment compared to others. Sometimes a memorable moment just comes down to having really damn good decoration. That's not to say that minimalist levels can't be memorable either. It's just that for them to follow the above procedure, contrast needs to do more work. For example, a conversation about the most iconic GD levels will probably include Lit Fuse, a level with almost no block decoration. Karma L executed the escalation formula mainly with effects and background art here, and you could strip even more away and make an effect layout like Aleph-Zero. Making an appealing level without access to any of the newer textures is an extra challenge, but with limited possibility for visual spectacle, Xander made creative use of a limited set of tools, leaving a mark with unexpected gameplay mechanics and a healthy dose of effects. It might not be as good as fully decorated levels, which are also innovative, but it does leave a lasting memory for its audience nonetheless. Another thing about Aleph-Zero is that it doesn't have just one part that steals the show. Plenty of famous levels, namely XL ones, go for more of a consistency-driven design, maintaining a high standard of quality over a lot of parts instead of building towards a peak. And even when there is mainly one part that people remember, that part isn't always the climax of the level. It's often a simpler ending part that serves as one final hurdle, or a congratulatory send-off after a standout experience. If you want to learn more about perfect endings, check out Werewin's video using the card on screen. There are a lot of different ways to make a memorable Geometry Dash level. If you've got further insight on one of the levels I mentioned, or a different perspective on the design philosophy behind iconic moments, comments are welcome, and I'm usually active on my Discord server, link in the description. I hope you found this video informative. If you did, you may also enjoy this one about difficulty balancing. Thanks for watching!